Shopify grows with your business no matter how far or big you grow. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Shopify is there to help you grow. Whether you're selling your fans' next favorite shirt or an exclusive piece of podcast merch, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to grow your business no matter what stage you're in.
This is The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic, and this is another bonus episode of the PR Training Lab. If this is the first time you have listened or watched one of these episodes, what I do here is take a random runner and make a custom training plan recorded live here on the show. So you can get to know my process, what I'm looking for, why I make the choices that I make in creating custom training plans for athletes. At this point, I have created thousands of these custom training plans, and they're all a little different. Every runner is a little bit different. So I do my best to get enough information from the athletes so that I can put together a plan that will work for them to get to their goals. Today, we are going to be doing a 5K plan for Ginger. I'm really excited about doing this one. It's a little different from the marathon and the half marathon, and so I'll walk you through my process in making a 5K plan. If you would like to enter to be on one of the next Planted Runner Podcast PR Training Lab episodes, all you have to do to enter is write an Apple Podcast review first, and then head to theplantedrunner.com/PR Lab. You'll fill out a form. It's the same form that I go through on every single episode. And if you get chosen, I will be doing your custom training plan live. So again, that's theplantedrunner.com/PR Lab. All right, let's see what's going on with Ginger. So what's interesting, at least to me, is Ginger is a local to my area. She's from Asheville, North Carolina. She is 41 years old, and let's see when her race is. It is August 24th. So we're in June here, so that means we're about 10 weeks away from race day. So when we are looking at 5K plans, or even really 10K plans, we don't want to train for those for months and months and months. They are not like the marathon. So with a 5K, your intensity level is going to be much higher. You might be doing fewer miles, less mileage per week. But when you are doing speed days, you're at a much higher effort level than you would be for the marathon on most days. And so when you're training at that higher training stimulus, your body can only handle so much before you plateau and stop improving. If you keep pushing at that point, you can actually decline in fitness. Overtraining can happen. So we definitely don't want that. So I don't really want to see a training plan for a 5K longer than 8 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean you sit on the couch and then just wake up eight weeks from your race day and start training. You're doing other kind of training. Maybe you're coming off a marathon block. Maybe you're just having some free form, no schedule time, but you're still running. You're still staying fit. It's just that the 8 weeks, and for some people it's 6 weeks, those 8 to 6 weeks are your specific training for the 5K. I think one of the best ways to train for a 5K is to break up the race over the number of weeks that you have to train and do intervals at 5K pace, broken up into little pieces, and you're going to be doing that basically once a week. So, the 5K, which is 3.1 miles, that amount of time in a workout for most people is great. That's a normal standard speed day workout for most people. Now, with the marathon, the half marathon, we're not running 26 miles, 26.2 miles or 42 kilometers in training. But for 5K, of course, we're running 5K in training. But we don't want to leave our race in training. So we're not running the whole 5K race at our goal pace. Obviously, it's a goal pace. We can't do it yet, but we will be breaking it up into little pieces. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a bit. So what is her goal race? It is the Asheville Half Marathon, 5K, 10K. And again, it's at the end of August. Her goal time is 23:42. So that breaks it down to 7:38 per mile or 4:44 per kilometer. So nice and quick. How long has Ginger been running regularly? She says almost 3 years since her second baby. She says she has a long running history before children and in between babies. Now, of course, that is probably familiar to a lot of women runners out there who have kids. Some women can run all the way through their pregnancy. They just seem to bounce back right after they have babies. I was not like that. I could not run during pregnancy. I had to do a lot of swimming. I was not a happy pregnant lady. I mean, I was happy to be pregnant. I was just not happy with the experience. It was very tough. One of the toughest things I've ever done. So I was not a runner during pregnancy. Many women aren't, and that's okay. But it's great to come back. And sometimes you might find you're just as fast, if not faster, after having kids. So great to see Ginger coming back to the sport 3 years later after her last baby. Does she have any recurring injuries? This is important, especially as we are increasing speed. If we're doing speed work on the track, those short, quick repeats sometimes can be a risk hazard for certain kinds of injuries. So we want to make sure that she's okay. Looks like she's okay. No injuries there. So that is great. All right, let's check out Ginger's recent race times to see if her goal is realistic. Okay, she's got the 10K in 50:13 and another 5K in 24:15. Okay, so her goal, 23:42, strangely specific there. And her last 5K was 24:15, so 30 seconds. So she's roughly looking to take 10 seconds per mile off of her race time. I would say that's not necessarily unrealistic. The 10K time of 50:13 is just a scooch faster than the 24:15 of the 5K. But I don't think she's necessarily unrealistic. Depends on how long ago that 5K was, what the conditions were. She's planning on racing in August. It's going to be hot, and Asheville is hilly. So assuming her last one was hot and hilly too, maybe that's very similar conditions. Maybe it's different. We don't know, but she's not trying to do something like cut off 5 minutes off her 5K, which is nearly impossible to do for most people in recent time spans. So she's probably being realistic. I don't know, but I think that it's a pretty good goal to shoot for at least. How many miles does Ginger run per week? She says 15 to 20 miles. Now, for a 5K runner, that's not bad. Obviously, the more you run, the better you get at running. The more aerobic development that you can get. But 20 miles is I would say, base for a 5K runner. Again, the more you want to improve, the more dedicated you are, the more time you have to devote to it. Great, try running some more. But if you don't have time, or if you're not as it's not something you need to prioritize, I think that that's a fine sort of minimum for the 5K. And I would say a competitive 5K. We're not talking about just running to finish 3.1 miles. She's trying to get better at it. And so whenever we're trying to get better at a certain distance, we need to change up the stimulus. So the 3 levers of change that we can pull are frequency, how often you run, distance, how long you run in each session, and intensity. So we want to kind of play with those. We don't want to pull two levers at once. That's just too much. So if you're trying to increase your weekly mileage, try doing that a little bit. If you're trying to increase your frequency, don't change your weekly mileage and make your speed day extra hard. We want to just move one at a time. We want to sneak up on that fitness, not freak our body out. And that's really the best way to improve at something. So I would say if you have the time, you don't have injuries, you're 41 years old, I think that you can probably bump that up if you wanted to. But I would not say you need to bump up your long run too much as a 5K runner. I would say for most recreational 5K runners, 12 to 14 miles is really the top that your long run should be. Of course, the elites and the super competitive recreational athletes are probably going to be doing more than that. But what happens when you run long, really long, I should say, for a 5K runner, is you are carrying fatigue throughout the week. So when you go to the track to do your 5K specific work, you just can't quite get as much oomph out of your legs because you ran too long on the weekend. So it's really important to still get the aerobic benefits of a long run, but don't make it too long, especially if you're struggling at the track. I would say that's the first place to kind of trim back. If you are, let's say you're a marathon runner coming to 5K training, we don't want to have marathon-like long runs when we're in a 5K specific phase because you're stealing your speed. That fatigue just will drag through the week and you just won't be able to get quite as much speed. You won't develop that next gear that you need for the 5K. What's the highest amount of weekly mileage you've ever run and how long ago was that? So she says 50 to 60 miles. So she has a history of longer running, but that was 10 years ago. So that's kind of interesting. We know that she has the capability of building up to that, assuming that her lifestyle can handle that. Not everybody's lifestyle can handle that. So she doesn't have to build up that high if she does not want to for the 5K. But that is good to know that she has had the capability of that. What days of the week do you currently run? Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And she does a long run on Saturday. So if you've listened to my other episodes of this, you'll know that I like runners to run the day before their long run. It pre-fatigues their legs. It makes the long run more effective. It simulates a longer long run without having to run as many miles. So every other week for a marathoner or even a half marathoner, I'll assign a shorter, steady or medium pace run the day before your long run to simulate some fatigue. With a 5K runner, we don't need to do that. We actually don't want to carry too much fatigue as a 5K runner. So the fact that she is not running the day before her long run, no big deal. It really isn't. In fact, it might actually be better for her because we might be able to sneak in a second speed day instead of trying to tire her out for her long run. Again, the long run in the case of a 5K runner is important for aerobic development. It's obviously way longer than the demands of the race. So we're not trying to make that long run any harder than it needs to be. How long is your average most recent long run? She says 6 to 7 miles. That's about 10K. That is perfectly fine for a 5K runner. Again, we might take her up to 10, 12 miles, possibly 14, but I rarely actually assign people a 14-mile long run in 5K training. Sometimes I will if they're still also trying to build up for a marathon or half marathon. But again, I don't want these really long runs. Let's take a break from that right now so we can focus on a little bit of speed, a little bit more intensity. And so we're fresh when we hit our 5K workouts. Let's talk about 5K workouts again. I told you a little bit about them. So that what we're doing is we're taking the race, 3.1 miles. We're breaking it up in chunks at the track, hopefully. Or you can do it any flat place where you're not going to be interrupted. And we are breaking that race up into pieces. So let's say we start with 400 meters. That's about a quarter mile. That's one lap around the track. So we want to run a set of 400. Now, how many 400s you do depends on your experience and how much you've been running and, what you can handle and your volume. But let's say it's 10, okay, just for easy math. So you're running 400 meters 10 times, 4,000 meters. So almost a 5K, which would be 5,000 meters. So let's say you do that 10 times and you want to run at your 5K pace. So first of all, not your goal pace, but your current 5K pace. And then you want to jog in between. So you might be jogging 100 meters, 200 meters, or you might do it in time. Let's say you do it for 2 minutes, something like that. But the key is to run at 5K pace and keep the jog. So running 400 meters at 5K pace, that's probably not hard for you. That should not be hard, running a quarter mile at the pace that you can run 3.1 miles. That should not be hard. By the end of the workout, it'll feel hard. But at the beginning, that you should be purposely slowing yourself way down. If you are running too fast in these kinds of workouts, you're not doing yourself any favor. What you're trying to do is run the race in your workout, but broken up with rest breaks. Now, the rests are really important in a 5K workout too. If you have to stop, if you have to walk, that's no big deal. But what it means is you're running your 5K work too fast. We want to keep the run continuous. Stamina is what we're looking for. The definition of stamina is speed plus endurance. That is the name of the game when it comes to the 5K. So we want to practice that stamina in our 5K workouts. So you run your 400 meters at 5K pace. Again, that will feel slow. And then you jog in between. So you're not quite getting enough recovery in between. You're not quite catching your breath before you have to do it again. Because in the 5K, there is no catching your breath, right? You are running as hard as you can to the end of the race. And this will teach you how to do that. So if you find yourself having to stop and walk, again, if you have to, not a big deal. But if you were always walking your stamina workouts in your rest periods, what that means is you're overshooting it on your fast portions. So you need to prioritize the rest just as much as the speed. If you cannot jog your rests, slow it down, check your ego, and get to a pace where you can run the entire workout all the way through. Okay. So really important to do that if you want to specifically practice the demands of the 5K. All right, let's get back to Ginger. What pace would you say is a very easy effort, a relaxed pace for an average run? This is a pace so slow that you could talk as easily as walking. She says 10 minutes per mile, and that breaks down to about 6:13 per kilometer. So I think this is a little fast, actually. Looking at her race times, I think this is a little bit fast. I would like to see her in the 10:30 range. I think it's too fast by about 20 to 30 seconds. In kilometers, it's about half of that. So it is, I don't know. I haven't run with Ginger, so I haven't talked with her while she is running, but she should be able to jog and talk as easily as I am talking now. So I think that if she takes down her easy pace a little bit, it will make it more aerobic. The 5K is still a very aerobic race, and it'll help her recover more, build up that aerobic base so that she can be fast on her fast days. I'll be back with more from the PR Training Lab right after this. This September, join me and a small group of runners for an incredible running vacation here in Asheville, North Carolina. We're staying in deluxe riverfront cabins where we can run right out our doors. We'll feast on chef-catered plant-based meals, enjoy classes and coaching, and so much more. To learn all about the cool things we've got planned, go to theplanetrunner.com/retreat. Spaces are very limited, so sign up today. My favorite way to get all my stinky running clothes clean is with Earth Breeze. Earth Breeze Eco Sheet looks just like a dryer sheet, but it's ultra concentrated laundry detergent. It eliminates stains and odors while being kind to the planet and your skin. No more ugly, heavy plastic laundry jugs filled with messy blue goo, which we all know is mostly water. Earth Breeze comes in a lightweight cardboard envelope that hardly takes up any space in your laundry room. And they offer flexible subscriptions delivered right to your door for free. If you decide to go back to your old stuff for some reason, you'll get a full refund on your Earth Breeze purchase, no questions asked. My clothes are clean, they smell fresh, and I never have to feel guilty dragging home the big orange jug from the store again. Right now, you can receive 40% off Earth Breeze just by going to earthbreeze.com/plantedrunner. That's earthbreeze.com/plantedrunner to cut out single-use plastic in your laundry room and the landfill. That's 40% off your subscription at earthbreeze.com/plantedrunner.
Greetings from Evergreen Podcasts. We're rolling out a listener survey and we want to hear from you. The information in the survey will help us gather statistics and in turn make our shows more appealing to advertisers. I know most people don't like ads, but this is one of the only ways our shows make money and help keep their lights on. We promise it will only take a few minutes, but the impact on our podcasts will be tremendous. As a token of our appreciation, we'll randomly select one lucky participant each month to win an exclusive merchandise package from Evergreen Podcasts. Head to evergreenpodcast.com/listener survey to help a show and possibly get some free stuff for doing so. We can't thank you enough for the support. Now back to the show.
This is the Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic, and welcome back to the PR Training Lab. What day do you prefer to run your speed? Tuesday and Thursday? That is fine. What day of the week does she take her full rest? Friday? Okay, remember she's running along on Saturday. No need to run the day before for 5K runners, unless you can. That's okay. But again, we are not prioritizing the long run. We are prioritizing our speed days. She is flexible when it comes to her training days, but I'm actually probably not going to move them around. If she wants to keep them the way that she has them, which is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, let's keep them. No reason to, unless she wants to add a day. Again, if she wants to do a short, let's say 3-mile, 5K jog on another day, that would be perfectly fine. Let's see what else she does. We'll find out in just a minute. What are your favorite kinds of running workouts? She says 400-meter repeats and long runs, polar opposites. Yes, they are. So a 400-meter repeat. Whenever you use the word repeat, that is not the same 400 meters that I was talking about earlier, running at 5K pace with jogs in between. A repeat is when you run so hard that you have to stop, catch your breath, and then you're going to do it all over again. A repeat is full recovery. Full recovery means stopping or walking, no jogging, none of that stamina nonsense. We are repeating something over and over and over again. We are doing a interval meant for speed, not a continuous stamina workout. So 400-meter repeat, very different than 400-meter intervals at 5K pace. So she's probably doing 400 meters at maybe her mile pace, something like that, but it will be much faster. You can run your 400 meters, obviously, much faster than you can run 3.1 miles. So repeats, not what we're doing too often in 5K training, maybe every once in a while, but definitely a little bit different. What are your least favorite kinds of running workouts? What do you struggle with on your runs? She says longer repeats, a mile or so, longer tempo. She says she needs to do more of these as she could see her weakness in the last 10K race. So yeah, a longer tempo for 10K, we're going to be doing more of that kind of work versus 5K. 10K and 5K training have similarities, but they are different, obviously. 10K is twice as long. And you do need to work on more of a tempo style pace for the 10K. So if you're curious about tempo, what that word means, lots of people have lots of definitions, but what I like to use is whatever you can sustain for 40 to 60 minutes at your highest possible range. So if you can run a 10K in 40 minutes, your 10K pace is your tempo. If you can run it in 60 minutes, your 10K pace is your tempo. The elite marathoners, the guys run half marathons, as fast as that. So half marathon pace is their tempo. So, it's tempo pace is not tied to a race pace. It is tied to an amount of time. And it's fluid. It's something for everyone. So anyway, yes, we would be doing more tempo style for 10K. Now, if Ginger was a 40-minute 5K runner, then sure, yeah, we would probably do a little more tempo stuff because 40 minutes is her tempo pace, and that would take her, 3.1 miles. So tempo can get a little confusing because it's one of the workouts that we associate with time instead of pace. So just wanted to kind of clear that up. What kind of non-running physical activities, cross-training do you do each week, and when do you do them? So strength training twice a week, Pilates once a week, mobility once a week, long walks, hiking here and there. I'd like to add swimming once a week if it's feasible. So all of this stuff sounds awesome. Yes, strength training twice a week, perfect, as long as she's not too sore for running, love it. Pilates, that's great because that's like flexibility and strength put together. That works great. She's not doing it too often to take away from her time running. Mobility once a week, perfect. I'd probably like to see mobility more than that. Let's say you do mobility, I don't know, for half an hour once a week. Where do you think you're going to be more mobile? If you did it 10 minutes every day, or if you did it 30 minutes once a week, I think doing it a little more often in shorter chunks is probably going to be more effective, but overall, not really complaining about that. Long walks, great. We are meant to walk. Hiking, of course, we live in the mountains, great place to hike. Swimming once a week. So yeah, if she's running 4 days a week and she wants to throw in some swimming instead of an easy run, totally fine. It's great for recovery. It's a lot harder for most runners to swim too fast. We're built for the roads. We're not built for swimming. And so usually swimming ends up being more of a low-end cardio for most runners. So it's great for a recovery day and a mental break from running. So that's perfectly fine if she wants to maybe do it the day after her long run or in between speed days would be perfect. No struggles with nutrition. That's fabulous. What are your biggest struggles mentally when it comes to success and performance? This is a good one. Look at this. I get nervous about not meeting my goal times a couple days leading up to the race and on the start line. Although I did much better mentally on the start line of my last race. Okay, good. We're moving in the right direction. The first step is realizing or anticipating that it's going to happen. So if you're mentally prepared to be mentally nervous, that's a little bit helpful instead of being surprised by it. But this is very, very common, especially when we are training for something we care about. Our adrenaline is going to rise. We get worried about it. We, are putting all our eggs in one basket. For Ginger, she's going to be training for 8 weeks for something that's going to take under a half an hour to accomplish. And so, of course, she wants it to go well. Of course, she's going to be nervous about her time. And, to be honest, that 5K's intensity is so high that it's a little scary sometimes. Can you keep up that intensity? Because this is going to be hard work if you're doing it right. So understanding that it's normal, understanding it's because you care, understanding that sometimes it's part of the process is a big deal and goes a long way into making it better. One thing that I would recommend in the couple days leading up to the race is to do some visualization. I have a visualization, a race day visualization that I did, I think it's over a year ago now on the podcast. You'd have to search for a race day visualization. And you just go to a quiet place, you close your eyes, try not to fall asleep. But I talk you through a visualization of the race. And this can help you really mentally calm down. When you picture something that you're about to do, the brain feels like it's already done it. It feels like it's already been through the dress rehearsal. So when race day comes, it's calm. You know, our brains love to anticipate things. It loves to predict what's about to happen. And so the more you practice something, the more calm your brain can be. So highly recommend doing some visualization, doing some deep breathing. And on the start line, what I recommend is having a warm-up routine that helps you work through this. You know, you see famous baseball players doing all sorts of things with their hands and their nose, and they're touching their head. And they have this routine that they do that looks silly to the rest of us, but it's a routine that they do every single time. And it's not necessarily just for superstitious reasons. It's a routine that gives them control. So maybe as a runner, you do your leg swings. Maybe you do a few lunges. Maybe you do a few strides. But do something in repetition that you do in a certain order, in a certain way, every single time, every time you train. And once race day comes along, try that routine again. It should give you a sense of calm because your brain and your body are like, okay, it's time to work now. I can just focus on doing my leg swings or whatever it is and not focus on how nervous I feel. Because you know, nervousness is a sense of excitement. It is a sense that your body is ready to do the work that you've trained to do. What is Ginger hoping to gain or learn in this training cycle? She says, I'm hoping to gain more speed and learn more about the mental side of training. So yeah, we are going to chip away at her speed. We are not only going to be doing the 5K specific workouts that I talked about. So we'll start with 400s one week. We'll go to 600s the next week. We'll go to 800s. And we'll progressively stretch out the amount of time that she is spending at 5K pace with those jogs in between. Then as we get closer to it, we'll repeat. We'll go back to 400s. And then on the second to last interval, I'll give her a hammer rep. So a hammer rep is when you just run it as hard as you can. And it's not the last interval. It's the second to last. And that's very important because we want you to give it your all, but in your head, you know you still have to do another one. So you pull back a little bit. So you're not going 100%. Maybe you're going 90% because you know you have to do that interval one more time. And it's really kind of effective at just sort of blowing the pipes out, you know, just seeing what you've got. Because if you're really concentrating so hard on 5K pace all the time, remember that's slower than your ability at those distances. So it's nice every once in a while just to see what you got and crank out a fast one. But we will be doing some other things. Definitely want her to be doing strides, which are 20-second acceleration decelerations after her easy runs. Those are a great way to practice speed. Probably want her to do a few more running drills than a marathoner necessarily might have to do just to get some of those quick feet. And of course, all my training plans include mental strength workouts every single week that will go over something that you can use in your workouts that week and beyond that will help you with the mental side of training and racing. Now, the thing about these workouts is sometimes you're going to listen to them and you're like, oh, that is perfect. That is exactly what I need. And then the next week you'll listen and be like, no, I am never doing that. Sorry, that's too weird. And that's okay. You're going to like some of them. You're going to not use some of them. But the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better. Anything else you'd like to share that would be helpful to your success? She says, I do have an 8.5 mile hilly trail race at the end of September. So longer runs and or more mileage than normal for a 5K plan would help me prep for that. But if that addition doesn't work, no worries. Okay, well, we have to make a choice here. So I would not train her the same way for a 5K, if that's the goal. If she also has an 8.5 mile hilly trail race, I would say no. No, I would not say no. I would just say pick your priorities. So again, we'll get her up to 10 or 12 miles for her long run. So yes, she will have the distance in her legs, But again, we want these long runs to be aerobic only. We don't want her, getting tired, none of that stuff. They are just for keeping her aerobic base up. So if she really, really focuses on getting the best training and time possible for this 5K in August, I would say keep that training run or the trail run in the back of your head. If that's not a goal for you, you don't really care. It's a trail race. Who cares how fast you go? I'm kidding. Lots of trail runners do care how fast they go. But, those are two kind of races that honestly don't go well together if you are trying to get the last 5% out of yourself. Now, if both of them are equally as exciting, we could tweak things here and there. But if her priority is speed, I would say you'll be fine for the trail race. But I would not add a bunch of things specific to the trail race during her 5K block. It's just going to take away from the training. Like, let's say every long run, she goes running up and down our beautiful mountains here and, a 10-mile run, which maybe normally would take her, I don't know, an hour and a half, hour 45, takes her 3 hours. That is going to be more significant and will take away from the speed she'll be able to do on Tuesday. So I'm going to go ahead and write her the plan since she says no worries. I'm going to say, let's focus on the 5K. Let's get as good as we can at that, and then let the chips fall where they may for the trail race. But if you have a more evenly balanced goals, you want to do good at this and you want to do good at that, then you can be more chill about all of this. Nothing has to be as perfect, but I say take turns with your goals. Don't try to do everything well all at once. Pick something to get good at that, and then move on to something different. Do something different that you want to get good at. But if you're trying to be good at everything all the time, you're going to be good at nothing, right? So pick which one you want to focus on. And then when that's over, choose something else. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to putting this together for Ginger. It's fun to do 5K plans. They are definitely a little bit different than marathon or half marathon, but the basics are the same. We want lots of easy running at a slow pace to keep it aerobic, conversational, and then 20% speed. Some of that's high-end speed, some of that's more moderate speed, but the bulk of our training is nice, easy, and aerobic. All right, well, that is it for Ginger's plan on today's Planted Runner Training Lab special. If you would like to be considered, you want to enter to win one of these free custom training plans that I do recorded live on the Planted Runner podcast, head on over to theplantedrunner.com/PR lab. That's it for me. Have a great run today. Thank you for listening to The Planted Runner, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Don't forget that you can win free access to one of my Sprint Session masterclasses just for writing an Apple Podcast review. So be sure to write yours right after your run today. Reviews are the #1 way to boost this show's reach, and it's a great way to tell me what you'd like to hear next because I read every single one. Have a great run today.
Hear Her Sports is a podcast for everyone who loves stories by and about women striving to improve and make a difference in their lives. I am your host, Elizabeth Emery, a former professional cyclist. In every episode, I introduce a female athlete or woman in the business of sport through a thoughtful conversation about who they are and the terrific work they're doing. My guests and I explore the glorious and frustrating issues in sports, history, equity, training, nutrition, and so much more. Join us for inspiration, for community, and for love of being a strong, athletic woman.